They say, the camera doesn't lie. But does it? For as long as we've had cameras, people have captured images and footage of things they can't quite explain. A spoken account of a supernatural event can be dismissed as hearsay, but a compelling photo or video? That's a different story. When something eerie is caught on camera, it sparks curiosity, debate, and even fear. So, with the vast internet at our disposal, what chilling footage exists for us to analyze? Here are 20 paranormal events caught on camera. Number 20. The Manchester Poltergeist. Now, I think that one of the ghosts that I made fun of before simply decided to up the ante before I ended this video. In an office in Manchester, a poltergeist was caught on camera, not only messing with one room in the place, but a whole set of rooms. That certainly makes the case that something bigger is going on here, right? We see it moving chairs around and closing doors, opening up filing cabinets and removing papers and so on. You know, the general thing that an angry office worker might do if it was tired of its job and didn't have a baseball bat to take to the fax machine. But anyway, we see it move a bunch of stuff around, but is it really a ghost that's causing all the havoc? While this is one of the more compelling videos that are out there, it can still be tricks, especially since the editing clearly wanted to make everyone who watched the video be able to see every single room before the poltergeist went to work. I'll let you be the judge of what exactly it is that's going on here in the comments below. Now it's time for the odd topic. Somewhere in Russia, a dashcam recorded something that no one believed to see. The car owner was on his way to his home when he captured a group of humanoid figures walking on the street in a strange manner. The man was confused and turned his car to reverse, used another road, and shared this story on the internet with others. What are your thoughts about this? Let us know in the comments below with the hashtag #OddTopic. Number 19. Mr. Fritz. Now, when it comes to paranormal activity, eventually you're going to find something that has to do with dolls. Yes, the old possessed doll trick. It's a classic, and they've appeared in everything from The Twilight Zone to Annabelle, and there are a lot of people who think that dolls are truly possessed. In the case of Mr. Fritz, he was a doll that was made by a ventriloquist who was killed, and that doll was then given back to the family, and he's traveled around over the years. Mainly because the case that he's put in keeps mysteriously opening on its own. And then, in this video, Mr. Fritz appears to open his eyes and his mouth on his own. Is it a haunted doll, or is it just somebody pulling a mean prank? Number 18. Ghost Balloon. I'm going to be sticking with hospitals, but not for any kind of angelic story. Rather, in a hospital in Argentina, a couple of nurses filmed what they claimed to be a ghost balloon. Now, they called it that because that balloon just seemed to float down the hallway on its own, and even when the nurses went into another room, it seemed to follow them. And so they ran away. A creepy thing to be sure, and it did appear to be a red balloon. However, it's clearly a hoax for multiple reasons, including how those nurses ran off in laughter at the end of the video after the balloon had allegedly followed them. Plus, if you fill up a balloon in just the right way, it will actually float off on its own, even in a way that makes it look like it may be on its own path. Number 17. Hospital Angel. This is a twist on the various stories from before, as it involves a real person named Chelsea Burton who was placed on life support, and her mother, well, she was in the last moments of deciding whether or not to take her off of it and let her pass on. That's what the doctors would recommend, but just as she was being taken off of that life support, a nearby CCTV camera showed a white figure in the hallway, and just as it showed up, Chelsea woke up. No one could explain it, and both the mother and some of the nurses on the staff felt that it may have been a guardian angel of sorts who had come down to save Chelsea.
This would be a special birthday.
Whether or not that's the case, I'm not going to say, but there are many out there who believe that that angel was actually there. Number 16. Wheelchair Ghost. Ironically, I do know of a wheelchair ghost via the film Scary Movie 2, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm talking about this video from a different hospital from before, where it wasn't a bed that was seemingly possessed, it was actually a wheelchair. You can see it going forward and backward on its own, clearly being guided by something, until it reaches its resting place at the end of the video. So then, is it real or is it fake? While it may not have any obvious solution, there are plenty of ways to move something like a wheelchair, plus the way in which it perfectly ends up at the end signals that this was probably more show than it really was spirit. Number 15. The Orb. The next story is amusing because it deals with someone who's not likely to pull a fast one on people for the sake of a good ghost story, that being the pastor of a church. Yes, it was a pastor who was visited by something in his home. He had a camera watching his living room, and that camera had a motion detector, and that motion detector went off at one point, and it showed an orb that was flying around the living room. He then went to check it out for himself, and yet he could not find what it was that he saw on the camera. Curiously, the so-called orb kept floating around for hours, even splitting off into several parts and roaming around the room. He claims that he doesn't know what it was and that it was a good enough story to run on the news. So what exactly happened here? Given that it was caught on camera but not on eyesight, that would point me to thinking that something was wrong with the camera. Because why would a ghost get picked up on camera in its physical form but not in somebody's vision? Number 14. Paranormal Christmas. Here we go again with a so-called poltergeist that doesn't play nice and just likes to wreck everything in sight, where in this case we have a home a few days after Christmas. The camera is focused on their Christmas tree, begins to shift in place on its own, and then it starts being joined by various other items in the house, which includes a jacket that's on the railing, some things that are above or below a countertop, and more. So, who did they make angry to have such a haunted holiday season? Well, likely nobody. While it is cool, it's yet another case of a paranormal event being perfectly captured by the angle of the camera, while the camera itself goes unharmed. It's likely just something the family did to pull a prank on somebody else who was watching it. Number 13. UFO in Malaysia. Now, you do know that paranormal does not mean extraterrestrial, right? These are two different things. That's the work of our crack research team here, you know. Always on it for everything. Anyway, in Malaysia, many years back, there was a weird video that popped up showing a flying saucer hanging over a district in the nation before zipping away. As the video circulated, people began talking about it more and more, wondering whether or not it was real. And they even contacted the authorities about it all in order to see what was taking place there, and they said they had no such reports of an incident. Huh. Well, it turns out the video was actually taken from another YouTube channel that happened to be owned by a visual artist. You know, someone who can do fake CGI videos. It's fake, and we're just going to move on now. Number 12. Haunted hospital bed. There are plenty of people who believe that hospitals are haunted, simply because of the people who died in them. So what would you say if I had a video that featured a hospital bed that moved on its own? Incredibly, we see this happen from not one, but two perspectives. The bed moves on its own when no one's around, and then when a hospital attendant attempts to get the bed, it moves away from him and he promptly leaves, proving that he would survive in a horror movie. So is it real? Well, it's quite doubtful. More than likely, someone rigged up that bed to move, possibly even on a motor right under it so that it wouldn't need to be pushed or pulled in order to get that desired effect. It's hilarious, but it's absolutely not haunted. Number 11. Kick the cat. It's always a curious thing to see how people view ghosts as always being violent and never just lurkers of the world. Case in point, this person posted this video and noted that a ghost had kicked their cat. You can see and hear what's happening in the video, and it's pretty clear that something weird is going on, as the cat in question goes from simply walking straight into the room with other cats and a dog, and then suddenly gets kicked out of the room. Now, naturally, the other animals go to see what's happening and try and aid their feline friend. So, what is it that actually happened? If you look at the footage quite slowly, you'll see that the cat is doing backflips on its own. You can even tell it from the sounds in the video because despite getting allegedly kicked, The cat doesn't hiss in a fury or freak out in fear. So yes, the ghost did not kick the cat just got flippy with it. Number 10. Guardian Angel. Now, I hate this video mainly because I've had to talk about it multiple times and over, and it never gets less aggravating. In this video, which isn't even about a ghost, a person allegedly gets saved by a guardian angel who teleports them out of the way of an oncoming truck. So why do I hate having to talk about this? Well, because it's clearly and absolutely fake. There are multiple uses of CGI here, and editing that makes it seem like teleporting is going on, but it is absolutely not. So stop saying that this is anything more than just a unique way to use special effects, and let's all move on. Number 9. Sofa Cat. You honestly have to wonder who people are even trying to fool with some of these videos. I mean, after all, they're sometimes really easy to explain. In this case, a person claims that the video shows the spirit of an owner's cat suddenly appearing in a place where there used to be on the sofa. So don't focus on the cat in the early part of the video that leaves the room. Instead, focus on the one to the left, where a cat suddenly magically appears, and it's there until the end of the video. Well, how did this happen? Simple, it's an editing trick. If you pay attention to when the lights transition, you can see the outline of the cat before it truly appears. They just played a part without the cat and then overlaid the cat onto it. Editing tricks, well, they're the cat's meow. Number 8. Possessed Baby. Now, we've all met a possessed child or two when they throw a temper tantrum and act like they're being monsters because we're not giving them attention or something like that. But in this case, I'm talking about a video that's truly called Possessed Baby. According to the parents, they checked out the nanny cam when they heard their child screaming, and they saw this. Yeah, it's quite the sight, and that would give most people a fright, especially since his eyes are glowing and the sound that he's making is quite guttural. Oh, and let's not forget how he's balancing on his crib like a pro skateboarder. The irony is that even the parents admit that it's both real and fake. It's fake in that he's not really possessed, shocker, but it's real that he did do this on his own. He just has incredible balance, was screaming his face off, and the eyes glowing were because the night vision lens of the nanny cam. So, one less evil baby in the world. Well, hopefully at least. Number 7. Angel Ghost. While some of these last few videos may have a case for being something unusual, the next one from Indonesia has no chance of getting that esteemed title. In the clip from some mall security footage, a so-called angel apparently descends from the heavens, hits the mall ground, and then flies away before anyone can reach it. Surely enough, some security guards race in to try and figure out what's going on, but the angel is long gone by then. I'll start with the obvious of why it's not real. The angel's clearly faked for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is it was a classic person's vision of what an angel looks like, so it's not exactly accurate to religious text. Secondly, when you look at the light that the angel emits, it doesn't match what's happening in the area around it. There are no shadows in key places where the light hit. It's not perfectly reflecting on the floor, and so on. The one you may have missed is how it looked when it flew away. That arc is not only unnatural, it also looks like an early animation project. I mean, why would it fall down straight and then basically bounce away on an arc? I mean, it's an angel. It can fly. Oh, and let's not forget that despite this being in a mall at night when no one else was around, there are apparently 4 different security guards on duty, and they all show up at the same time, conveniently, after the angel's gone. So yeah, it's fake in all the ways possible, and not even a good one at that. Number 6. Video Store Ghost. Now, I'll give this list credit. We're going to go to a lot of places to try and find ghosts, but in this case, we're in a video store, which really shows its age. If I'm being honest with you, there aren't that many of them open anymore. And did you hear what happened to Redbox? Wow, it's tragic. Anyway, the video takes its sweet time trying to figure out where it's going, but features a guy trying to put up some videos during his shift, which is what he allegedly should be doing. Except that unexpectedly one of those videos falls, which is odd, but it's not weird. Naturally, he picks it up and puts it back, and then as he does so, a set of other ones drop into the aisle that he was just in. At that point, he's like, "Peace, I'm out." Now don't get me wrong, if there's something weird going on in the place that I'm working at, I'm likely bailing as well. and nobody wants to see that because I work in my underwear. So, was this store haunted? Well, it's doubtful. Sometimes things just fall, even if they do take a long time to be that way. Have you ever seen a big bag full of items just slowly move from its place? Well, sometimes you can't even see the movement it's going through until it just makes one big one at the end where it then hits the ground. He was still smart to get out of there quickly though, and in the end it's better safe than sorry. Number 5. Antique Store Ghost. Now look, I'm not trying to bash every single video that comes our way, but I'm trying to put into your mind how you need to think about things like paranormal events videos, because there's something that flood the internet and everyone tries to say that they found something real when we all know that they haven't. This is an excellent example of that. This video footage is from a British antiquities store, and the claim is that it was a ghost that shattered the glass on a cabinet. Now, when you look at the glass shattering, you do have to admit it is a striking visual. But does that really prove that a ghost destroyed it? Or is there just something else going on here? Our eyes do not go to the glass that is there, but to the ground of the store. You may notice all of the objects strewn around the ground. That doesn't look like they just naturally belong there, now does it? This could easily be something like a robbery or a vandalism event gone extreme, and I'm pretty sure that ghosts only do one of those. Furthermore, you'll notice how the glass bursts out of the cabinet and goes away from it, but if that glass was taken out by a ghost, why did it go in the direction the ghost would have hit it from? Am I to believe that it went inside the cabinet and then burst out of it? It seems like a whole lot of effort just to get some destruction going on. Number 4. Paranormal Kitchen. We've all seen the movies where a poltergeist or some other ghostly entity decides to wreak havoc on a home and throw all the things around. And in this clip from a person who claimed to have a poltergeist in their home, they decided to film one of their tirades. Conveniently, the person wasn't home when it happened, and yet the poltergeist just decides to go and take a stroll through the kitchen and wreck everything in sight. Seriously, the thing goes to town and just throws, pulls, or tosses anything and everything that it can find. If you did believe in ghosts, well, this might be something that would catch your eye and make you think that this was proof of something paranormal. But if you focus on the little details, you're going to notice it's something a bit too perfect in terms of a tirade. For example, have you even noticed how perfectly placed the camera is in this shot? Why in the world would someone put a camera on their table? If the poltergeist is as violent and terrifying as you think, don't you think it's smart enough to know that a camera's watching? Equally as important, all the things that are tossed around are significant, but the camera's not touched in any slightest way. That would seem to be something that the ghost would go for early on, to really cause a scene, you know? Finally, what is with the aesthetics of the kitchen? Why does it look like it got pulled out of a 1970s sitcom? I mean, forget the Ouija board. You need an interior decorator. Maybe that's what the poltergeist was trying to tell you. So it's definitely not a real ghost, unless it's the ghost of a former house designer. Number 3. Haunted lockers. This one is definitely one of those that doesn't immediately send up any red flags of being faked, but that doesn't mean that it's not a clever cover-up for all that likely is going down here. This is Deer Park CBS in Cork City, which apparently is one of the most haunted schools in the world, or so it's claimed. This event took place in 2017 in a really early hour of the morning, as in when nobody was around to actually see it happen. At first, nothing happens, and everything is kind of calm. And then, without warning, one of the locker columns begins to shift back and forth before going eerily still. After another pause, one of the doors suddenly bursts open and things fly out of it. So, what exactly is going on in this school? Is it truly haunted? Are the children not okay? Well, before you cry ghost, we need to have a really close look at the footage, because there's a small giveaway that something hinky is happening. If you look at both the locker column that got rocked and the locker door that got opened, you're going to notice that they both stop in place with a suddenness that is kind of unnatural. You have to remember, the locker column was being sent a good distance from where it was, and then it just stops in place without another shake or a rattle. As for the door, it should have been flying back to where it came from, and yet it stops midway through without issue. Momentum is a powerful force, and it's not so easily calmed, So whether this is some kind of CGI trickery or just another case of moving style editing to make it look like something's happening, well, I'm pretty sure the school is safe from any ghost. Number 2. Paranormal Barbershop. This video claims that the barbershop in question had decided to install a security camera to ensure that they caught anything that was bad that went on in there. A smart idea in today's world. However, at the midpoint of the video, something weird does indeed happen on one of the empty barber chairs. If you pay close attention, you're going to notice that the blue cloth that is over the empty chair simply moves on its own. Now that wouldn't be odd at first because various things could move a cloth even in an enclosed area, but it gets even more weird when the cloth moves in an unnatural way, as if it's being pulled from above instead of to the side or down. Only one person in the shop notices and promptly freaks out, saying that he was totally out of there because he didn't want anything freaky going on where he worked. Since the other people didn't see it, he would try to tell them that he's not at all crazy and that the thing had moved, and you can see the cloth move in such a way that shouldn't happen. But does it mean that it's paranormal activity? Well, the fact that this happened perfectly in the shot of the camera immediately raises suspicion. Furthermore, the fact that the video had to say, "We didn't move it," and that they looked into what caused it definitely makes it seem kind of fake. Now, the irony is that there are multiple ways that both it and the doll's head that allegedly also moved on its own could have been fake to move. All it would have taken was someone off the camera moving it with something like a string, or there's something that the cloth is covering that just moved it up. In today's day and age, seeing is not always believing. Number 1. A Dobby. Now, for the record, nobody is claiming that the house elf from the Harry Potter franchise has come to life, because that would raise all kind of questions that we're likely not going to be able to answer. But in this video from Colorado, we see a creature coming out of a nearby house and walking in a rather strange way, while also looking very weird and then suddenly disappearing from the footage. The head of the house, who posted it online, said that she didn't know what it was, and she was pretty freaked out about what it could have been even months after the clip had gone viral. For the record, the reference to Dobby is in how the creature looks, including the thin body and the floppy ears on top of its head. Now, obviously, there were a lot of people who had theories about what this could be, but the biggest group that investigated the matter was Inside Edition. When they went to have a look at things, they then found out that at that house was a 9-year-old boy named Bobby. Inside Edition looked at Bobby, the angle of the camera, and a lot of other factors, and they just wondered if all of this was simply Bobby wearing a pair of underpants on his head and then walking around funny on camera. After all, he lived in the house, he's 9 years old, and he's more than capable of pulling a prank. He would know how to do something weird and freak out the camera and his parents. He denied it, and his mother came to his aid, noting that she would not have let him out of the house that late at night. However, that doesn't mean they're not in on it together. In fact, Bobby had accused his next-door neighbor's kid of doing it, and she fired right back saying that it was him. The drama ensues. What might be the most damaging piece of evidence is the footage of the Dobby where it cuts out before we see where it goes. And that's odd because wouldn't you want to keep on showing the creature for as long as possible? Why cut the clip there? Why not keep it rolling? Is it perhaps because Bobby had to go and face the camera eventually? I'll just let you be the judge. That's it from the realm of the paranormal and all of the ways that people have claimed to have caught something supernatural on camera. What did you think of all these unique sightings that have been posted on the internet over the years? And do you think that any one of these is actually credible? Perhaps you know of another video that seemingly is credible. Let me know all about it in the comments down below. Check out the other cool things that are showing up on the screen, and I will see you next time.